Hmm. Good. I don't need that.
Okay, well, we're recording already. Hi, welcome everybody to our channel, The Journey Within with Christopher Mack. Since we are on a sort of lockdown here in the Los Angeles, California area, we decided to do a quarantine series where we talk about our new book and bring it to life. Christopher?
Yeah. How are you? Hello, everybody. I'd like to thank everybody who I invited to view my YouTube channel and want to know how everybody is doing since this quarantine. When you see this video, like and share and get back with me. You can express a comment in the comment section, I believe. So, I gotta jump in.
Quarantine.
Yeah.
How is this for everybody? Challenging. It definitely can be challenging because we're facing ourselves. And as Carl Jung said, we've got this shadow side that we've been distracted by for many, many years, some of us, and everything is coming to the surface. We see it reflected in politics, in the healthcare, in all education. All of that shadow side is coming up to be transformed. This is an ideal time to address your shadow side.
Well, a lot of times I think that we're so distracted by so many things in life. What am I going to do today? Where am I going to go today? And even people who stay at home, are distracted by sometimes the television, the radio. Well, we still got those things, but there seems to be this focus on the individual self. And because we're staying home and we have to relate to people that we are involved with, or maybe, people who stay at home by themselves probably don't feel this quarantine as much as people who are always out there on the go.
Mm-hmm.
And so for uh, one specific reason, be kind to one another. It'll get you through the rough spots. Sometimes it might be that start to we start to see ourselves and we start to feel ourselves because we are not using the distractions that we normally use. And so
So all of these feelings are coming up that sometimes a lot of people have a hard time defining even what the feelings are. They don't know what they're feeling. They don't know why they're feeling it.
that is that's true, because when you are left alone with yourself, you start to notice things that you didn't notice before. And so those feelings sometimes can become overwhelming. But I assure you to sit back and to take a deep breath to start to feel yourself. I notice Ma says to start feeling your spine, just start to ground yourself by feeling, being present with your own body is probably one of the tricks that I use, when I become overwhelmed or when I have a lot of fear is coming up for people too. But I assure you that the fear will pass once you start to breathe and once you start to feel your own body and be present. Get into the moment. And that may sometimes seem difficult, but if you just start to watch your breath and relax, and notice how your body starts to feel, and notice how your body starts to relax. So one of the things is to start to just be present, be in the now. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. Just right now, just that one moment. Take that one moment into the next moment.
I want to read something in the book uh, uh, because we have a whole chapter on wounds and healing, and feelings, etc. But Alan Watts said this because, our book has a lot of Carl Jung in it. Jung was a sort of man who could feel anxious and afraid and guilty without being ashamed of feeling this way. In other words, he understood that an integrated person is not a person who has simply eliminated the sense of guilt or the sense of anxiety from his life, who is fearless and wooden and kind of sage of stone. He is a person who feels all these things, but has no recriminations against himself for feeling them. In other words, this is not a time to avoid those feelings, to push them down, ignore them, distract ourselves. Well, it's hard to distract yourself. It's a time to feel them. And it takes a lot of courage to do that.
It also takes self-discipline, and it takes self-control. If you feel your life is out of control, maybe because you haven't considered what is self-discipline, what is self-control, and how can that help me in these times? By asking the question, am I out of control? Normally I don't see myself as being out of control because I'm distracted, but sometimes I might just be out of control. And so when you are faced with certain things, just asking the question can start to bring answers from within. So if I say, just take a look at yourself. Am I out of control? Is my mind running rampant with thoughts? Is fear overtaking me? And you can see. But then when you start to take back the control, you start to notice that you start to calm down and you start to be in the moment.
Very good. Oops, I keep knocking myself. I'm in the office. Christopher's in the house. We're not really quarantined from each other. What you want to talk more about the wounds, or you want to share a little bit about your journey, Christopher, so that people get to know you a little bit better?
Well, yeah. Well, I came up in Los Angeles in the 60s, I guess, where, I really didn't even see these wounds when it was happening. But, when they say hindsight is 20/20, my wounds were out of kind of like a lot of my wounds, they were generated by disappointment, or by expectations, by things that I thought should have been happening for me that weren't. And coming up in the 60s in Los Angeles, I remember in 1965 when the Watts riots were, and they had the National Guard was deployed running down the street, and the black and white television was always showing black folks being beaten, whipped, and water hosed, and there was a lot of anxiety in those times. And so part of those wounds carried off into my adult. By the time I was 18, I had very little idea of what a happy life was like, and so coming up in those stressful times, it's a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear of what was going to happen. And then when I start to go within and find out that those wounds kept still sending out messages of anxiety, of fear, I always was trying to escape from, turn to drugs and alcohol and, trying to alleviate the fear. But once I start to find out that that life was worth living, I began to find a different, I find a different way of looking at life. So it's when your perception changes, your expectations, they also change. They become more reasonable.
Yeah, that survival mechanism of drinking drugs to numb the feelings. My survival mechanism was more of a mind over matter. Nope, that didn't happen. Nope, it doesn't matter. I'm over it now. Think of the future, move ahead. As Christopher would call me, an overachiever. But anyway, we all develop those survival mechanisms. They work, and they're not to belittle them, because we needed to do it to survive. But there comes a time when they don't work anymore. You start to see that you get physical issues, your life is in chaos, whatever it might be, but they don't work for a lifetime. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you start to distance yourself from who you are, because you start to use those survival mechanisms that stop working, but you keep using them anyway, and you start using more and more and more and more until the more doesn't work, and you have to have something else, and then you have to have some other stimulation and some other distraction, and
Right.
pretty
And really,
soon
you're running away from yourself. The most magnificent thing in the world is what is in you, and what is in your soul, what is in your energetic body, your emotional body, your soul, your spirit. It's the most magnificent thing, but you're running away from it.
yeah, you keep you're burying yourself under a lot of activities, a lot of things that don't have any value for you as a living organism, as a being that's receiving all of this beautiful information from the universe, from source, and you're unable to use it because you keep listening to those wounds, those messages that are being sent from what you wanted to get away from. Uh, but so you're initially running away from yourself, not knowing who you are, getting further and further away from, that beautiful being that you are.
Okay. I think we'll end this first Zoom meeting now. Are you good,
Well,
Krista? Is that okay? We'll
yeah, it's
we'll do
okay.
it. We're going to do some more.
Yes, we are coming back, and let us know in the comments what you find within yourself, because it's not so much as my journey, it's your journey that's the most important thing. So take a look at yourself and see who you really are, and find your own happiness within.
Thanks, Christopher.